Welcome, Johnny Reb Gamers. Today we are going to cover turn sequence number 5, move disengaging units. Remember in the beginning what we did is we marked all the orders face down. That's marking orders, turn sequence 1. Then we did routes, rallies, and replacements. Then we revealed all the orders that I've done here. We've conducted resolving first fires, and now we move the disengaging units, which is marked by the letter D chip. Disengaging comes after first fires and before charges, even though when there's a charge we announce who is being charged. There is advantages and disadvantages to disengaging. The order definition and effect for disengaging is on page 34 in the rulebook, and the actual moving disengaging units showing the benefits or the penalties of disengaging is on page 40 in detail. One of the benefits of disengaging is that when they're fired upon, they only take half casualties. There is no other die roll modifiers against it. There's no flanks, there's no rear when they're fired upon. You're trying to get out of a bad situation. The examples I've used for this situation is you can see an overwhelming force of Confederates coming at these two regiments. One regiment already has 2 casualties on 3-man stands, and with 1 more casualty could lose a stand. This regiment already has a stand missing, and this regiment, the Confederates are coming onto the flank. So I have chosen to disengage these units to try to get back to the second Union line or behind the Union line. When you're disengaging units, your goal is to go directly back away from the enemy toward friendly units. That's the direction you have to go. Like I said, on page 34, it gives order definition of disengage. Again, the benefits are half casualties and no die roll modifiers as far as fired on flank or other negative effects. And on page 40, the advantages they list, for example, is, as I mentioned, fire casualties are half, disengaging unit suffers no die roll modifiers, but does get the die roll modifier benefits. For instance, if they're in the woods, they get the -2 cover. They get no fired on flank or rear penalty. The disadvantage is they can't change their order condition hold. If they're charged, a disengaged unit would suffer charge on penalties such as charge on rear if the charge wound up going to impact, and if they wind up routing, they don't get any bonus movement since it already did a bonus move. So in this example here, the cannon would have first fired on the units already, and the infantry would have fired on the unit already. So here's how we do it with the disengaging units. If you look on the movement rate chart here, you can see that there is a disorder column right here, and it has 7 inches for road movement, 5 for open, 4 for broken, 3 for woods, and 2 for rough. So depending what terrain the unit's in, that is the chart you would use. In this case, the unit's in the open. At the bottom, you see bonus movement. That's how many extra dice you roll in whatever terrain you are that you're going to add on to the disorder movement. So in this case, you're going to move 5 inches straight back, away from the enemy, toward friendlies, and add 3 dice in the die roll. So we're going to roll. Wow. They move back a long way. So they're going to have a normal movement of 5 inches, and then 16 more. So this unit is actually going to run away 21 inches. So of course that's going to be out of camera range. So I'll just put that unit back, showing that they go back. They would go back again 21 inches. Remember to keep your marker 2 casualties left to right when you're done with that. So they moved back. That was a good move for them. They got way behind their friendlies and out of danger. And that's what the goal was. Again, the unit's first firing, if the cannon had fired on that unit before they left, there would have been half casualties. The cannon, being at whether it's normal range, would have rolled 3 dice. They have 2 sections. First firing with adds 1 to the die roll, so you have a total of 12 on the die roll. 2 sections on the chart. Rolling a 12 is a 1. Again, because it's half casualties, 1 makes it a half, so you're going to roll 1 dice. Just like a 1 asterisk, a 4, 5, or 6 is a hit. 1, 2, or 3 is a miss. So in this case, it would have been a hit, which would have caused that unit to lose a stand because it had 2 out of 3 casualties already on the stand. In this case, the first fire would have rolled 2. So they have a roll of 9 with 12 figures. Cross index. Remember, because they're disengaging, there is no flank benefit for firing. Normally they would have gotten a +4 firing for hitting the flank, but because they're disengaging, there's no penalty. So 12 figures firing, a roll of 9 plus 1 for first fire would be a 10. So the 10 chart on 12 guys firing would be 1. So here again on this unit here, from the first fire, you would roll a dice. They need a 4, 5, or 6 to hit, so they got no hits. Now, this unit here I purposely put in an orchard to consider it broken terrain, so instead of rolling 3 dice, you'd go 5 inches in disorder away from the enemy, plus the roll. I have a 9 roll for 2 dice in broken terrain, plus 5 would be 14 inches. So they would move back 14 inches. And again, when you end your movement, your troop is facing away from the enemy and in disorder. And this last unit here, which I forgot, they're in open, so they turn around, move 5 inches, and they're in the open, roll 3 dice. So in this case, they would move, that's a roll of 7, plus 5 is 12. So they would go back 12 inches and then up in disorder. Now, if they hadn't rolled as high, and let's say one up here, I want to show you what can happen of the dangers of disengaging. As you can see on this Confederate unit here, it's marked charge. And on a charge movement, you get to roll the normal movement in line. If you look on the chart in line, it's 6 inches. So they would get to go 6 inches to start their charge. And then because they're open, they'd get to roll 3 bonus dice. So if they're in broken terrain, it would be 2 bonus dice. And if it's rough terrain, it'd be 1. So I'm going to roll the dice, and the danger of disengaging and not rolling well enough is what happened right here. In this charge, they move 6 inches in line in the open, their normal movement, and then you add, in this roll, a very good roll, 14 more inches, which means that they would hit the disengaging unit in the rear, and they're still in line. So that would be very bad for this disengaging unit because they didn't roll high enough. They actually did. However, to be an example here, I had them come up short. So what would happen here is in the first round of melee, the Confederates would get to attack them, and in the rear, charge on rear, which is a +9 die roll modifier for morale, modified morale points. So it'd be very bad for that unit. Getting hit in the rear. We'll cover further aspects of the charge and impact later, but that was an example where the disengaging is usually good to get out of a situation, but it can turn bad if you don't roll good enough. those were the best examples I can give you of an idea why you might want to disengage. The purpose of my units disengaging would be to get behind this second line that was on hold. And actually, as I said, this unit had rolled very well and would have gotten away from the charge. If they had gotten behind that line and the charge had gone as far as it was going, then the charge unit probably would wind up hitting one of these units on hold instead of going through the gap. But charge is another turn sequence we'll talk about in detail when that happens. So that's turn sequence number 5, move disengaging units. We'll see you next time.